Cold air will be the dominant weather story over the next couple of weeks, talking about cold air moving into North Georgia. So you're going to see a flashy term online. That flashy term is the polar vortex. This is not a new term. It's a term that's been around for decades and decades. But what it is a circulation of very cold air that's normally trapped up by the poles, hence the word pole, the root of polar, and polar vortex. When our jet stream pattern is very strong, it keeps that cold air trapped up by the North Pole. But sometimes that jet stream can become a little bit more wobbly or erratic. And when we see those dips in the jet stream, that is what sends that really cold air sinking south into the lower 48. Through the middle of January, that's what we're expecting across the southeast. We've got colder, we're going to call it Arctic air, an Arctic air outbreak that will be a prolonged period of well below average temperatures here throughout North Georgia, the southeast. You see on the 6 to 10 day temperature outlook, we've got that dark blue color, meaning likely colder than average temperatures for the entire eastern United States. Let's look a big picture at how those temperatures trend out. There is one little lobe or spell of that cold Arctic air that's already pushing in for the start of the weekend. As we get into the second half of the weekend, we warm the temperatures up a little bit, but then into early next week, here comes the next spill of that really cold Arctic air. Now, this is not going to be record-breaking cold by any stretch of the imagination in North Georgia, but what we are expecting is several days in a row of much colder than average weather. So again, we don't see the polar vortex entering Georgia at any point, but it's going to be an extended Arctic air outbreak that brings us our coldest temperatures of the season so far. High temperatures for that Arctic air next week will be struggling to get above 40 degrees each and every day. The morning lows in the city will be in the 20s. So we're talking about Atlanta low temperatures through the first full week of January that are going to be in the mid 20s, maybe some low 20s. But when you're outside the center of the city, those morning lows can be a lot colder than that. So we will look at looking at some teens and low 20s for morning lows outside the center of the city, and then afternoon highs in the upper 30s and low 40s. Now, when we get into these patterns, when we know the cold air is going to be here, we have to look ahead at any potential impact from wintry weather. And at this phase, we're still a very long way away from a significant wintry weather threat if there were to be one playing out. What we are looking at now is what's the weather pattern into next week? Are we going to see cold air in place before any moisture, and will we see moisture moving in? It's going to take several more days if we were to get closer to a winter weather threat for us to get any specifics of what types of precipitation we'll be seeing. What's the timing of that? What's the amounts of them? Right now, we are just purely looking at next week. We know we have the cold air. Will there be storm systems coming in that could produce moisture, and that means wintry weather? The most favorable setup for us to see a winter weather event across North Georgia is a system that tracks up from the Gulf of Mexico, because then we know it's pulling in deep tropical moisture. We know the cold air is already in place, and that leads to a more favorable chance of wintry precipitation. We need that low to cut south of the city through central or even southern Georgia. We got to be close enough to the low to where we get a lot of moisture, but not far enough away to where the moisture leaves us altogether. If that low tracks too closely in, that means we end up with more of a sloppy scenario with multiple types of precipitation. This is all hypothetical. It's not going to play out. We're just looking in the future of what models can be showing through the next week. Now, if we see a track of a low with moisture coming north of the city, say for example, like what's playing out Sunday and Monday, that brings in much warmer temperatures, and that limits any wintry weather from playing out. If we see a scenario play out where we have moisture coming in like this, and then the cold air follows, it's usually a game of cat and mouse where we're trying to catch up the cold air to the moisture, and it usually doesn't play out with a lot of favorability for snow lovers out there. So that is what we're looking out towards next week. We know it's going to be cold. We're just looking at weather model data to see the pattern. Will there be a Gulf system developing or not? Right now, anything can happen.